All right, shalom, peace and blessings, family, congregate members, apprentice priests, consecrated priests. I'm Priest Ahzaraya, joined by my reader, A.P. Gabaria, and Priest to be a war. We're kind of going off the heels of what Chief Priest Banyala had brought out and pertaining to bringing the fruits from this 50-day feast. Now he went through and took us through bringing our physical fruit of how we used to do it in the days of old. But now we know, being in the seventh covenant, we must bring our spiritual fruit, our virtue, our treasure stored in heaven. But in order to do that, we have to be purged out. We have to be cleansed from the ways of this world. So we're going to start off in Matthew 16:6.
Matthew's, the 16th chapter and the 6th verse. Then the Messiah said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. Which then the Messiah perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye yet not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets ye took up?
All right, pause right there. All right, so in the 6th verse, he said, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. So we talking about this yeast or this, this bread? We talking about this? Or what are we talking about? We're actually talking about sin. He said, take heed and beware of the leaven, talking about sin in the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And he says, and they reasoned among themselves, saying, it was because we have no bread. What is it, Christ? We ain't bring no bread. What, you tripping on us? What's going on? He's actually giving them an allegory, telling you, beware of this sin. And this is what I'm talking about, that all of us must be purged from. We must be cleansed from the spirit of sin. But let's read on.
The 10th verse. Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees?
All right. I'm not going to dig too much into it with the loaves. If you want to get the further understanding, definitely check out the class, The Mystery of the Loaves, that Priest Banyala gave. But to keep it on where we going now, he's telling them, it's not concerning bread what I'm talking about. Don't be simple-minded. We're not talking about this. Like I said, we're talking about sin. Let's read on.
The 12th verse. Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of the bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
All right, that doctrine is that Genesis 4, going back to the law of sin, knowing that when you trespass, transgress, and you fail to atone for it, what does it say? Sin lieth at your door. Mm-hmm. And it's talking about the door to your consciousness, your mind, your chambers of imagery. And when you fail to do it, what happens? Let me step right on in, is what sin is going to say. And once sin comes in, he exalt himself above all that is called the Most High. Everything that is called the Most High. The Most High tell you don't do this, do this. The Most High tell you don't eat pork, brother, I got a pork chop for you right now. I got a ham sandwich for you right now. Anything he tell you, anything. And these are the things that we have to be purged from. You could give me that 1 Corinthians? 1 Corinthians 5.
1 Corinthians 5, verse 8.
Yeah, verse 8.
Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness.
All right, pause right there. It says, therefore, let us keep the feast. So like I was saying, we coming off the heels of what Priest Banyala had brought out. We know we supposed to be harvesting this fruit. But we know now in the 7th covenant of David, we harvesting our spiritual fruit. We're cleansing ourselves, walking these 7 pillars, learning how to accrue virtue. This is our fruit. We have to accrue it. It's a necessity. Remember, the Most High said, don't come empty-handed. So we have to learn how to do this thing. And he says, therefore, let us not keep the feast. Therefore, let us keep the feast not with the old leaven, that old sin that have been up in you. Why are you holding on to it? Remember, why are you holding on to that? You've been holding on to that for 14 years now. That alcohol abuse, you've been holding on to it, brother. Let it go. Oblate on it. Give a sin offering for it. This is our medicine. We must take it. And you got to purge yourself from it. And it says, not with the old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness. It's all talking about the same thing. If you could go skip back to verse 6.
This is 1 Corinthians 5, verse 6. Your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump.
All right, here we go again. He keep talking about this leaven. We already know it's sin. He's telling you, your glorying is not good. Stop glorying, brother, sister. If you ain't in these oblations, you ain't under the seventh covenant, you still stuck in Moses' covenant, the sixth covenant. He said, glory not. Know ye not that a little bit, you can feel like I'm cleansed. I prayed to Jesus today. I'm cleansed now. The Lord is my personal, Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior. I'm good. I'm good.
Covered by the blood.
Exactly. Y'all heard it. We all heard it. But when you leave that little speck, you feel like, I pretty much got everything out. I think I'm good. But then you leaving that little bit of sin like, I ain't went nowhere. You thought I went, fool. I'm right here. It says a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. It's going to take you over. The next thing you know, you back in wickedness. You eye deep in wickedness. You doing things that you know you should not. You knowing in your mind, I know I ain't supposed to be in this club right now. I know I ain't supposed to be here right now. Why am I here? Damn, my family done called me. Auntie made that mac and cheese. I know it's Thanksgiving. I ain't gonna eat the turkey. I ain't gonna be a part of that. That's that little bit of leaven. That little bit of leaven that you leaving inside yourself. And this can go all across the board. This can be a number of things that we can talk about. But he's telling you that little piece of leaven, you leave it in there, it's gonna take over the whole lump. Let's read on.
Verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump.
All right. So now he's saying, purge out therefore that old leaven, that ye may be a new lump. Purge it out. And how do we purge it out? Sin offering, trespass offering, daily oblations, coming to these feasts, not coming empty-handed, coming like we ought to, like we're supposed to. This is ordained by the Heavenly Father. We mandated to do this. Our whole lives we spent wasting. I myself, I'm 31 years old. I spent my whole life, I think I entered into the covenant in 2015. I spent my whole life trespassing, never atoning for it, never accruing virtue, never knowing what virtue was. Coming empty-handed. Scriptures say we must redeem the time. Redeem this time back. Come hard with it, come strong with it, or don't come at all. We have to be made a new lump. Preach the word. If you could give me Hebrews 10 and 20. Just hold it for me. So being this new lump, like I said, we have to come under the new covenant. We have to be in these oblations. We cannot neglect it. It's no time to neglect it. Like I said, redeem this time. Go in extra. If you were an apprentice priest, go in extra. Be in more hours than the hour that you're set to. Oblate, baptize, constantly, daily. Go ahead, read that. Hebrews. 10:20. Yeah, 10:20.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 20. By a new and living way which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh.
Go ahead, read.
And having an high priest over the house of Yahweh.
All right, so by a new and living way he had consecrated for us. This is the seventh covenant, the covenant of David, that Christ came and consecrated. And he's saying through the veil, if you know anything about the temple, he said through the veil, that is to say, this flesh. This is why we adorn ourselves with the ribbon of blue, to resemble the curtain temples. We are the temple. Scripture said plenty of times, know ye not that ye are the temple? And we supposed to be worshiping and serving the Heavenly Father, purging out that old leaven, purging out these spirits of sin. I should have had him grab it, but can you give me that John 15 and 1? Yeah. So like I'm saying, being in the seventh covenant, knowing that Christ came and consecrated, let us take hold of it. He said, he is the high priest over the house of the Most High. Go ahead, get that, John.
John 15:1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman.
All right, so going back to the times of Noah, coming from that flood, a husbandman is not taking a wife's hand in marriage and, baby, I love you, and we married, we husband and wife now. Husbandman is getting on your grind, ensuring that your household is in covenant. Whatever time period you lived in, our ancestors lived in, they knew, I need to protect my family. And the only way to do that is make sure my family is under this covenant. And it said when Noah came off that ark, it said Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, bringing that fruit. This is what we're talking about. We must bring that fruit. But we know, I'm going to keep saying it, we have to learn to bring that spiritual fruit, that virtue, learning how to accrue it. But it says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. This is Christ. Christ is that true vine, and the Most High is the husbandman, planting that seed. But read on, verse 2.
The second verse. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit.
All right, every man or woman that dwelleth within a house that bringeth forth no fruit, or that is wasting away his or her talent, the things that the Most High has blessed you with, when you're wasting away, he said, I'm going to get rid of you. You want to be a part of this vine, but you just like, whatever, I'm not waking up for it. I'm not doing this. I'm not accruing any virtue. I'm not on my job. I'm not keeping covenant. I'm taking it for granted. This deep information, once the power is connected to it, people will pay, untold amount of money. Money that is priceless. So wisdom is far above rubies and gold. This stuff is priceless. And you took it for granted. Didn't take hold of it. Didn't keep covenant. He said, all right, later with you. You're disconnected from the vine. You're disconnected from this nutrients that I'm giving you because you're not taking hold of it. You're not producing that fruit. You're not accruing virtue. You're not following the Proverbs, following the 7 pillars of wisdom. He said, brother, sister, sorry. But let's read on.
Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing.
All right, pause right there. My bad. Go back and read verse 3 again.
The third verse. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me.
All right, pause right there. It says, abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. So like I was saying, if you are wasting away what the Most High has given you, this great information that he's given to us, if you just pining away, just not taking advantage of it, not doing the things that's necessary to keep that covenant, to put wisdom in the position that she needs to be presented in, if you're not doing these things, you're not abiding in me, keeping this covenant, you cannot bear fruit. It says, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. So just imagine the Most High planting this tree, right? And all these branches are sprouting out. We are those branches. So when you're not keeping that covenant, doing what you need to do, bearing that fruit, producing that fruit, that branch fall off. And there's been a lot of brothers and sisters that came and may have just fell off because they felt like, you know what, I think I got mad fruit. I'm a thick branch right now. I think I can sustain out here. I'm on the grass, but I'm good though. But when you really look at it, you're not attached to that nutrients anymore. You're not attached to them roots. You're not attached when that rain hitting the soil. and it's bringing forth all that rich nutrients. You're not attached to that anymore. And what I mean by that, you're not attached to the Godhead. You're not attached to wisdom anymore. Okay, yeah, whenever you got it. But you're not attached to that anymore. You're losing out. And that fruit that you thought you was bearing, yeah, it may get plucked off, but you're not producing any more fruit. It says, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. This is the Most High telling us, we need to be in this covenant. We need this. It's no time ever to neglect it. It's no time ever to look at it because of the world don't see the power and the glory in it. It's never a time. You could read on.
The 5th verse. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. Without me, ye can do nothing.
Go ahead, read.
The 6th verse. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned.
It's no use for you. Most High is telling you, you'll wither away. You cannot survive without me. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I got a precept to build on to what the brothers going into. This is in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, and the 15th verse.
Not that you have.
And it reads, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I work cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of the mouth. So the Most High is saying, when you come in to do this work and getting rid of sin and being that husbandman, I'd rather that you be either against it or fully with it. But seeing that you can't make a decision on what you want to do, I'll make the decision for you and cast you out. That's when you become that branch that is withered and dieth away. So if you're going to be for this gospel, if you're going to do this work, you got to be hot, man. Be hot for it or be cold. Because the Most High will make a decision for you if you can't make the decision for yourself. And for my advice, I would advise brothers and sisters, man, to be hot for this, to be on fire for it. Because there are many wonderful rewards at the end of this journey.
Most definitely. If you could read verse 7.
The 7th verse. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in ye, abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you.
All right, just like what A.P. Gabario was just saying. There's great reward to this. When you keep it, you understand the power in it. Before the world understands the power in it, it's a great reward to it. Mm-hmm. He said, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. The Father is looking to give us whatever we need, whatever we want. Like I was explaining to A.P. Uziel last night, the Most High is looking to give us these blessings and we'll actually neglect it. Like I said, just imagine a homeless man. He linked up against the mansion and sleeping there for months. And the Most High is like, yo, this is your mansion. It's fully stocked with food, everything you need, clothes, everything. And you just, when you neglect it, you chilling up against it like, I'm going to just sleep right here. Man, it ain't that cold. I'm going to just sleep right here and stay right here. And the Most High is like, I got everything that you need, everything that you want. I got comfort, everything that you need and want. But when you neglect it, you shall be cast out. Could read on.
Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. So shall ye be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love.
All right.
Read on.
Now you good. So he says, herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. So that's the core of this class. I want to keep driving that point across is we must bear this fruit. But we have to learn how to do this in the 7th covenant. We got to learn to accrue this virtue. And part of it is walking these 7 pillars. Knowing the 7 pillars: knowledge, understanding, discretion, equity, justice, judgment, the Holy Spirit of wisdom. We got to learn to walk these things. We must know how to do it. And not only knowing the Proverbs, knowing the 7 pillars, but you have to apply it to your life. You must apply it to your life. And and we'll get it. If you could give me Proverbs 15:1. Yeah, you got it. If you could. I got you.
Let me jump in real quick.
No, you got it.
So let me just add something, because a lot of times we want to hear the good news and the good things, but we neglect the flip side of that coin. You understand what I'm saying? So I was reading Second Ezra's when I was on my way down here. Second Ezra's 9, and the chief priest he always give me a scripture like, yo, read that. But here's the thing. So Ezra is having a conversation with the Most High, and ultimately he's fighting for us. You know what I'm saying? He's like all righteous men, they fight for their people. You understand what I'm saying? So here it is Ezra. He's standing up and the Most High, he like, listen, man, you can't love our people, my people more than me. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
but ultimately, this is something that struck a chord, because I hear you, Priest Ahzaraya. We gotta show our fruits. We gotta put in the work, the effort, right? And these oblations about accruing virtue and doing the things that comes with that. But here's the flip side for all the brothers who don't, and brothers and sisters who don't, where, make no mistake, it's going to be many. Let me just read this real quick. Chapter 9, this Second Ezra, chapter 9, verse 14. So he says, let me start at 13, matter of fact. It says, and therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly shall be punished, but inquire how the righteous shall be saved, whose the world is, and for whom the world is created. So we understand that the world is created for the righteous, not for men to be destroyed. The Most High, he ain't just sitting down, watching a movie wanting us to be destroyed. He wants us to be saved. He wants, greatness. He wants us, like you said, to accrue virtue, to put our virtue and store it in amongst him, in his bank, so to speak. But then it goes on to say, and then answered I and said, I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. Like as a wave is greater than a drop, just to keep it simple. Like a wave is to a drop. So, it scares me to think about that. And if you love your people, if you're willing to fight for your people, just think about that. A drop of us is going to be saved. Lord, forgive me for counting myself as that number, but a drop of the people will be saved versus a wave of people is not going to be saved. So it's our duty to always rebuke each other, to stand up and try to correct each other. It's our duty to talk to our parents, our friends, even though they don't want to hear it. Oh, you Israelites is crazy. They don't want to hear us, but it's our duty to try to save them, to save them, to put that word in them. If you love your parents, if you love your friends, it's our duty just to speak up to them and talk to them and try to exhort them and bring them and lift them up to come into this truth, which is not us being Israel. That's not the truth. The truth is true worship. And how do we worship? Is by accruing this virtue, by giving up these oblations, and by giving fruit, bearing fruit, which is our actions, which is these oblations, as well as the virtue itself, by using the 7 pillars of wisdom. So this is not no game. This is real. This is really serious, because we're talking about souls. This ain't about YouTube hits. I don't know about anybody else, but this ain't about YouTube hits for me. That matters not. This is about saving the people, and I love my people, but how can I love the people more than the Most High? So just go ahead, Priest, you got it. I don't want to take up too much time.
Nah, you good, Priest. That's right on point, Priest.
You said Proverbs 15:1?
Yeah, just hold that for me.
Okay.
Just hold it for me.
We're going to go to St. John 15:2. Again, every branch in me that beareth no fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth, that it may bring forth more fruit.
I just wanted to bring this point out, that exactly what both priests, Apprentice Priest Gabaria is saying, and Priest Award is saying, and what we've been saying this whole time. We must purge ourselves, and the Most High said, every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it. And the whole purpose is that it may bring forth more fruit. And that purging is keeping yourself rid of sin, trespass, constantly in these oblations. I was speaking with the porter earlier. Wisdom that gave me this a while ago, just broke it down to me, and it helped me understand the dynamics of trespass and sin. And I'll share with you. We got to look at trespass and sin. Well, I don't have to, but the way wisdom gave it to me is the trespass is like HIV, and sin is like AIDS. We all got the virus. We all got the HIV. Ain't no way around it. And I'm talking spiritually. We all got it. And the reason why I say that is we all trespass. It's no getting out of this trespass. Anything you do is a trespass. Almost anything you do. They putting it in our food. We went through it, in the priesthood class. It's stuff that's like red 15. What's red 15? And you just smacking down on it, don't even know what it is. And it's an unclean animal. It's an unclean insect. So it's no escaping it. I'm touching this mouse right now. I don't know who manufactured this mouse. I don't know who did this. Could have been a woman, brother, some woman on her cycle, something, a murderer, something. I never know, but now I'm touching it. They never gave up a trespass offering. It's unclean. I touched it. If I don't give up my trespass, I'm unclean now. Everything we touch, everything is geared towards us trespassing. So this is like the HIV. This is that virus. And we all got it. And we got to be circumspect and really look at ourselves and be humbled enough to say, I know I trespass. I trespass every single day. But let me make sure I'm purging this stuff out. Because if you don't, it will metastasize into sin, which is AKA that AIDS is what I'm talking about. And what happens when you, trespass being the HIV virus, sin being that AIDS. So what's the medium? What's the middle ground? It's the medicine, right? What is the medicine? It's the oblations. You stop taking that medicine, it will grow into AIDS and you will die. Mm-hmm. And what is that death we talking about? Separation from the Most High. And just like we've been going through, I'll cast you out and be put in the fire. You'll be no use to me. And like AP Gabari was bringing out, you come hot or cold, I'm gonna spew you out of my mouth. You wanna quit taking the medicine? Okay, go ahead and do it. I will spew you out. I'll cast you out. You'll be thrown in the fire. So I wanted to make sure we keep driving this point that this is how we bear that fruit. This is how we bring that fruit. Is making sure we are purging these spirits of sin out. Don't let it grow. Don't let these trespasses grow into sin, or don't let that HIV grow into AIDS by neglecting your medicine. Most High, like, take this medicine. You'll be made new once this punishment is over. Who the hell holding that Malachi? Okay, y'all get that for me.
Pull it now?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. It's the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 2. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap.
A refiner is somebody that's involved in metallurgy, where they take those metals and they'll cleanse it from all its impurities. So he said he's like a refiner's fire. He gonna put that flame to you. He gonna put you to the test. He gonna put it to you, and the whole purpose is to purge you, so you may bear forth more fruit, or like fuller soap, so that I can cleanse you, so you can come to my feast, not with empty hands, but with much fruit, abundance fruit. You can't even carry it, with much fruit. If you could give me that Proverbs 15:1.
I got it right now.
Okay. Oh, you got it?
Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger.
All right, so this is one way how we can accrue virtue. I'm sure all of you brothers and sisters have been in a situation where somebody was said some unpleasant words to you, and your first thought was, I'm about to put hands on them.
I'm about to go in on them.
Exactly. I'm about to go in on this person. I'm about to do something. And you taking me there. But look what it's saying. A soft answer turneth away that wrath. So if you in that situation, you see the brother or sister is like they have no regard for you. They lay egging you on. Like, what's up, bro? Forget your Jordan. You got stepped on. What's up? Egging you on, right? Have no regard for you. The proverb tell you, a soft answer turneth away that wrath, brother. You know, I forget you, brother. You know, let me go about my day, bro. I'm good, or whatever it is. But you knowing in your mind, I'm utilizing this proverb. You're purging away that old leaven, that old yeast. That's the old you. Walk in the new covenant. Be new. You're made new from the water and blood. You're born. You're new. You're renewed. So walk new. Keep that proverb in your mind. All right, whatever it is. I'm going to give them a soft answer because I know that these grievous words stir up anger. And once you do this, now you gain virtue. So what we've been talking about the entire time, this is how you gain that virtue. Utilizing the proverb in its proper time. Say, what is it? Words fitly spoken are like pictures of gold, apples of silver. I forget exactly what it says, but this is how you accrue that virtue, that spiritual fruit.
Let me ask you something real quick, brother.
You got it?
So you know, like,
Proverbs 16,
you don't
7.
stop being who you are just because you come into the truth, just because you become Israel and you learn the things that you learn. It takes practice. Like the same way you practice to become wicked, you know, the same way we as a people practice to become wicked. You know, nobody wakes up a murderer. You know what I'm saying? You wake up doing this, doing that, doing this, and then it leads you to the extreme, which is murder, you know, so, or selling drugs or whatever the case may be. So the same way you got to practice to be wicked is the same way we got to practice to be righteous. So what Priest Ahzaraya is saying is that we have to utilize these 7 pillars of wisdom, you know, starting with knowledge, written information, right? We take this written information, not what the world has told us, but what the Spirit has revealed to us, you know. So we read the scriptures, we read this written information, we take that knowledge, and then we begin to understand about keeping the commandments, right? The statutes, by following these things. And the Most High will, I'm telling you factually through my own experience, that he will reveal understanding to you. And once we understand these things, it's going to open up discretion, you know, knowing right from wrong. How do we know the right from wrong? To be able to utilize these pillars is, you know, right from wrong by utilizing what's your moral compass, what governs your life. You know, we can't be governed by this corrupt institution known as, in a Western civilization, known as white supremacy, because it's totally not fair at all. You got Albert Wilson, 12 years for being raping a woman he never even had sex with, but then a white dude rapes a 14-year-old girl, he gets 10 months in jail. There's no righteousness in that, okay? So that's the discretion. We have to, as the individuals, as a nation, we have to take these 7 pillars and apply them. So when we talk about discretion, what governs our life is the information, the knowledge, and the understanding that's of these scriptures. And this is how we utilize discretion, knowing right from wrong, which leads us to the next step. I'm gonna let you pick it up if you got your scriptures. Okay, so, you know, again, it takes practice to do these things. You're not gonna be the most knowledgeable. I don't know all these scriptures. You're not gonna be the most knowledgeable person after a year. You're not gonna be the most understanding every scripture after a year, after 2 years. You're not gonna know all right from wrong because we're gonna slip up, you know. And then when we talk about equity, I believe that's something that's easy to do, to be equitable, right? With my friends, you know, with my mother, my father, my whoever, you know, my you know, not my child because he's just a child, but definitely to be equitable with everybody. So when we talk about utilizing these pillars, and let me give you an example. I was on a job and the brother, you know, was talking to me kind of reckless, and I'm saying, brother, this is a job. I didn't come to 9 to 5 to be, you know, getting into some street stuff, you know, and just me trying to utilize the soft words, you know, I just seen how he continued to continue to talk to me reckless. And a lot of people look at kindness as weakness, you know, and you being humble as weakness. So they push harder, you know, which ultimately makes you upset. But we got to remember, we are plagued with trespasses, plagued with sin. Okay, so I lost that battle because I kind of flipped out. I'm gonna give you the light version. I flipped out and I lost that battle. You understand what I'm saying? But here's the thing: I have to remember, as a priest, as a man, as a father, I have to remember to walk in these 7 pillars constantly and practice it. So when the time does come that I can win that battle, because this is a journey. This is a 26-mile run. This is not it's a marathon. It's not no short distance race. We have to practice these things. I'm gonna give it back to you. You got your scriptures, brother.
I'd like to build on that.
Please.
Let me go to Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, the 2nd chapter, to build on what Ahzaraya and Priest of War was actually bringing out. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Heavenly Father, prepare thy soul for temptation." So there's a way that the Most High wants us to walk, and we must walk in that way. So as the brother was bringing out, a soft answer turneth away wrath. According to the world, if a man get in your face and start disrespecting you, according to the world, if you giving a soft answer and not giving back grievous words, the world looks at you as a punk. And especially the street code, you're not gonna let nobody disrespect you that way. And the Heavenly Father is saying, listen, you give that soft answer and don't fight evil with evil, but overcome that evil with good. So that shows more strength when you have that restraint, and not going in on them. And I have a similar story as this brother, and I lost that battle as well. But the practice makes perfect. You got to keep practicing. So it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation." These evil spirits are always going to try you. But it says, "Set thy heart aright." According to what? According to thy word, going through these 7 pillars of wisdom. 7 pillars of wisdom. And constantly endure. And make not haste in the time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest increase at the last end. So whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed into a lower state. For gold, as the brother was bringing out before, is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So you're going to be tried. You're going to go through these things. But we have to continually practice these 7 pillars of wisdom, so eventually when these people go off or certain things take place, we know how to apply these things in the right way. So a boxer doesn't become a good boxer by his first time in the ring. He has to have many bouts and many batches and then get better as time goes on. So this is the same way in moving in this gospel, moving in this truth, and having fruit added unto us by showing ourselves approved. But go ahead, brother.
No, definitely, that's right on point. And like the brother was saying, we've been indoctrinated into this. We teach our children, you let that boy hit you, why aren't you hitting back?
Mm-hmm.
We've been taught this, to literally go against the proverbs since we've been little children. And the scripture says, a man shall be commended according to his wisdom.
Right.
And how do you get to that wisdom? You must go through the 7 pillars first. And once you do that and you're constantly doing that, a man or woman, that's how you shall be commended. Because you walk the 7 pillars so much, you've accrued so much wisdom and so much virtue. That's how you should be commended. And we must walk them. We have to learn how to walk them. And like we're saying, this is how, in the 7th covenant of David, how you accrue that virtue, that fruit. These are the ways that you do it. Going against that old leaven, those old ways that we've been indoctrinated with since we've been little kids, little children. But to keep this with the 7 pillars, we'll actually go through a proverb and break it down with the 7 pillars. If you could, give me that Proverbs 14:7.
Proverbs 14:7. Go from the presence of a foolish man, when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge.
All right, so what do we got? We got the knowledge. That's written information. That's the proverb. Proverbs 14:7. Go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. What that is, okay, I see this brother. we can take the same situation that these that these brothers went through. You can perceive in somebody, I see everything that they talking about. They ain't walking the 7 pillars. They not walking this knowledge. I see it as foolish. Foolish just means void of understanding. A fool is a man or woman that's simply just void of understanding. They don't know the truth. They don't know that they're supposed to be walking these 7 pillars. They don't know to keep the law of kindness in their mouth. So when you perceive that, you can refer to this proverb. Hold up, I see that. And you can be looking at it spiritually. Don't even look at it. That's a spirit up in that brother or sister. I mean, hold on, Proverbs 14:7 fit perfect with this right here. Yeah. And I'm giving a soft answer. Brother, I apologize. I didn't even know what I did wrong, brother. I apologize, bro. I don't know what happened, whatever. And they continue to keep on going on. Go from the presence of a foolish man.
It's time to bounce.
That's it. When thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. When you seen it for yourself, you seen it right there in the flesh. I done gave this brother a soft answer. He's still doing the same thing. Let me just remove myself from him. Let me about face and get up out of here, because I might end up putting hands on him. These are the ways and when you do that, you accrue that you walk every 7 pillar. But let's keep it in the 7 pillars. So now we got the understanding now. So we got knowledge, understanding, discretion. So now we know the right from wrong. We know the wrong would be to stay there and engage with the brother or sister. And hey, what you mean? Like whatever. We know that is the wrong. What is the right in this situation? Perceiving, there's no knowledge in them. There's no knowledge of the Most High in them. Let me remove myself then. So now we got discretion. So knowledge, understanding, discretion. What's the equity? The equity is always performing this amongst any brother or sister. Mm-hmm. It can be your own family member. You feel like, man, that's just my little brother, man. I'll punch him in his chest, and then we'll go on. I ain't using the proverb on him. That's my little brother, or that's him. He pissed me off. I'm gonna go ahead and go in on him. But then another brother come. He might be a little bigger than you. Hey, bro, I perceive not the lips knowledge. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna walk it now. He might get me. You can't do that. That's not being equitable. We must be equitable amongst all men and women. So we got knowledge, understanding, discretion, equity, justice. Well, knowledge, understanding, discretion, equity, justice. This justice is synonymous with righteous. And what is the root word to righteous? That is being right. But when you're righteous, or that have that justice, that's the continual. You do it at all times. You're performing it every single trip. And then you become righteous, or you have that justice within you.
What? Yeah, me at that real quick. So, in other words, you're saying to be just is just an act, right? Anybody can do an act. Anybody can feed the poor once, right? You drive past, give a person a couple oranges, $1, $2. That's an act, right? But to be justice, to deal and to move with justice, is to make it a lifestyle, to do this continually, and when we talk about, we all seen multiple homeless people outside, to use discretion, right? To use discretion when dealing with these people. Let me not give this dude $10, $20 where he might go buy some alcohol and or some drugs or something. You hungry? Hey, brother, I don't have much, but hey, can you meet me at McDonald's? Let me buy you something to eat, or meet you somewhere, or I'll bring you a sandwich or something back. That is to do the act that is just, but to continually do it makes it justice, make it a lifestyle to do these things. You got it, my brother.
All right, so we got knowledge, understanding, discretion, equity, justice, and now we got judgment. That judgment, think of it as like the judgment call. We done went through all the other pillars to get to judgment. We examine the situation. We got the knowledge. We got the understanding, discretion, equity. We got all of it. We examining the situation right now. We looking at it, observing it. Whatever situation it is. You can use these proverbs with all of this, but you examine your situation. Maybe a brother or sister going off. You okay. No lips of knowledge in him. No lips of knowledge in her. Okay. And this is all in your mind. You observing this thing. Now you make that judgment call. You make it. I'm judging the situation. I'm going ahead. I'm going to make the call. I done used another one. I done used a soft answer on the brother or sister. They still going persistent with it. Let me go ahead and remove myself from them. And once you do that, now we have wisdom, the 7th pillar. Now you've gained wisdom.
half a second real quick, my brother.
You got it.
So just touching back on judgment. So the first 5 pillars is ultimately something that is being done in your mind. So, you know, even the act of justice, you don't perform the act until you thought of the act, right? So, but then judgment is the manifestation of those 5, all right? The previous 5 pillars. So now once we, going back to the practice of these things, so once we get to judgment, the 6th pillar, we manifest every aspect of the previous 5 pillars. That takes us to the 6th. And now we're going to utilize the judgment, which is everything encompassed together, the knowledge, the understanding, the discretion, the equity, the justice, and then apply it to make it the judgment call, as the brother is saying, as the priest is saying, to make the judgment call. And once we do that, that's when we become wise. Let me hit the scripture real quick. So it says, this is Proverbs 15:2. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge aright, but the mouth of a fool poureth out foolishness. So when we perceive that there's foolishness in a brother, and when we talk about what was that, Proverbs 14, when we see that there's foolishness in a person, and all they doing is spewing, you know, calling you a bunch of N words, and you know, just acting irate, you know, trying to get you off your square, you see foolishness. It's easier to remove yourself than it is to remove the situation. To remove yourself from the situation, than remove the situation from you. You know. Now again, we do have that spirit of sin on us, you know, priest or not, because I stole candy from my grandmother my great grandmother, when I was 6 years old. I can remember doing this. I'm 38. I can remember doing this. If I haven't oblated for that, that's still on me. Satan can accuse me and jump in me at that very moment when I got some crazy, foolish man talking crazy to me, and then accuse me. And then I announce that spirit of sin jumps on me, and now he's commanding me, punch him in the head, hit him with a bat, or whatever the case may be, talk to him crazy, which puts me back into the perpetual aspect of trespassing. You understand what I'm saying? And then it just happens again and again and again and again and again. So we have to practice being righteous. We have to practice these 7 pillars. And that is not easy. It's very, very hard to practice the 7 pillars. But again, it's a lifestyle. It's something that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. And you will get better. You know, you will get better at avoiding these situations. With the more knowledge you accrue, the more understanding you accrue, the more times you utilize discretion and equity, being equal amongst all people, then it's going to get you in a place where you're better and you're able to command your spirit more. Because if we can't bridle our spirit, then we're virtually nothing, you know. But go ahead, my brother. I don't want to.
No, you good. It's right on point, priest. But like we were saying, to wrap up these 7 pillars, you got the knowledge, the understanding, discretion, equity, justice, judgment, and wisdom. And once you gain that wisdom, you gain virtue for performing that act. You removed yourself from that situation. Father, like, good, son, daughter, take this virtue right here. Store your treasures in heaven. This is how you do that. And then when you do that, you bring these spiritual fruit to the feast. Bring it unto the Most High. Offer it unto the Most High. But can you give me that Mark 5:27?
Mark 5:27. When she had heard of the Messiah, came and pressed behind and touched his garment.
Hold on, priest. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the lady that had the affliction of blood, right? And or the disease of blood, whatever it may be. And Yahushua is walking, you know, amongst the multitudes, and she's seeing him like, oh my God, if I could just touch him, then I know I can be healed. This is what's going through her mind. So that's where we at right now, just to give you brothers and sisters some context. Go ahead, my brother, you got it.
Right on point.
So 27 again. It says, and when she had heard of the Messiah, came in the press behind and touched his garment. And she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole.
How shall she be whole? Just by touching his garment? What are we talking about? Let's get the understanding, the full understanding to it. Go ahead, read on.
And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed from that plague. And the Messiah immediately, knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him.
All right. So we just went through these 7 pillars. We just went through how we accrue this virtue, these spiritual fruit. Christ knowing. Who touched me, man? I know somebody did. I just felt some of my virtue done came out. What's going on? So knowing what that virtue is and how you accrue it, Christ knew. And remember, we went through it earlier. Most High said when you're doing these things, you're purging yourself, staying in this covenant, whatever you ask, you will have it. This is how you pay for these things. When you bring this virtue, your spiritual currency to the Most High, make your request be made. Make your request be made known. Father, I need this. I got much virtue. Yep, I'm get my spiritual card. Yep, swipe. I'm good. I need this, Father, and it all be in righteousness. And sister, I don't say sister, but she knew. If I just touch him, I just need to do this. And Christ knew. He said, knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, who touched my clothes? But go ahead, read on.
And the disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and thou sayest, Who toucheth me? And he looked around about, seeing her that had done this thing. But the woman fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague.
All right. So once again, knowing how to accrue this virtue and knowing the power of virtue, knowing what it is, knowing that this is your treasure stored in heaven. When you make your request known in these oblations, Father, I need all in righteousness, knowing what it is, the power of it, getting healed, plagues, that's nothing to it. You can buy these things with your virtue. And not only that, the point that we've been bringing out the whole night is knowing that this is my virtue, my spiritual fruit, knowing now at the end of this 50 days, we shall bring the spiritual fruit, knowing the power of it. Well,
Can I say something first?
there you good.
So in that story, right, we have a woman. It doesn't say whether she's Israel, if I'm not mistaken, right? But ultimately, I'm seeing two things. As the brother is saying, we know that Christ was a very wise individual. We know that he walked in these 7 pillars throughout his life. So here it is, this lady touched him, this woman touched him, and she was healed immediately. And how did Christ know that? Because virtue left his body. As he said, if the wages of sin is death, then there has to be some type of wage for righteousness, which is virtue. So when that virtue left Christ's body, and he knew that someone touched him, and like he said, he asked the disciples, like you asking your homeboys, you don't see all these people around me? How we gonna know who touched you? You know what I'm saying? So, but she already, as it says, faith, right? It mentioned faith, and you kind of read that part again, AP Gavar. It was the last verse.
Let me see. And he looked around about, which part?
Yeah, right there. You got it.
Okay, and he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done unto her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole.
That's good, my brother. So just think about that for a second. It's the faith that, coupled with Christ's virtue, Yahweh's virtue, coupled with her faith. So the same with us. We have to have virtue as well as faith. Now, when we have our faith, because this is the thing, and I not to prolong the situation, but this is the thing when we talking about faith. She just said in her mind, if I could just touch him, I know I'll be healed. You know what I'm saying? And this is the substance, right? As it says in Hebrews 11, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, right? So this was the substance. If I can touch him, the substance was his garment, and what was she hoping for? To be healed, right? So when she touched him and she was healed, she got the thing that she hoped for, and then it was the evidence, of the Most High. It's beautiful. It was the evidence of the Most High, the things that's unseen. You understand what I'm saying? Coupled with Christ's faith, Christ's virtue. So, when we have the faith in what these scriptures is teaching us by way of this 7th covenant, utilizing the 7 pillars, this is our faith, that if we utilize these 7 pillars, that we will accrue virtue. Something that you can't see virtue, but other men can see it in you. Other men can see a virtuous woman by her acts, her mannerisms, and so same with a man, right? Because anybody can read a book and be intelligent, But to see a man virtuous acts, virtuous behavior, is something you as the individual can't see your virtue. That's impossible, you know. But other people can see it in the sight of the Most High, and in the sight of men, we can all see virtue, you know. But if we couple virtue with faith, there's nothing that we can't do. But go ahead, my brother, not to belay the situation.
And I just want to bring out a scripture, if I can,
You got it.
before you wrap it up. This is Wisdom of Solomon 8:7. And the brother spoke about the wages of sin is death, and now we want to talk about, you know, virtue. And it says here, if a man loveth righteousness, her labors are virtue. So when you're continuing in righteousness, you build up virtue as a bank account. And at some point in time, the Most High allows you to use those virtues that the Chief Priest brought out earlier. During these next 50 days, what are we to build up? Virtue. Go out there and continue in righteousness. You know, help out some folks. You know, open the door for somebody. Somebody come at you, you know, you just hold your tongue. Soft answer. Give it the turn it away wrath, but grievous words stir up strife. So during these 50 days, we're building up our spiritual bank account. And what happens is you build up that spiritual bank account, and then you take your tithes of that virtue and you give it before the Most High, and then the Most High says, now it's time for me to give those blessings into this brother or the sister. So the virtue is our spiritual bank account that we build up by continuing and applying righteousness.
That's right on point. You got it. Exactly, that's right on point. What AP Gabaria was saying, everything that we went through tonight, learning how to walk these 7 pillars, learning to stay in covenant, staying in these oblations, purging that old leaven, purging all of these old ways, all of this old stuff that just has been up in us. Once we learn how to do that, we can accrue that virtue. We can get our faith, as Priest of War was bringing out.
4 and 8.
You got it.
Okay, good.
I got it. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue,
If there be any virtue, went off the list, what things are true, honest, just, things that are pure, things that are lovely, things that are of good report, there be any virtue. He's telling you.
continue.
Think on, yeah, go ahead, read.
Whatsoever things of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things.
So we're going to end it with this and conclude it with this. Brothers, sisters, we in this Feast of 50 days. You now have the ways to go out and accrue this virtue. Don't neglect it. Go out, feed the homeless. Give them clothes, whatever it is. It's cold outside. Buy a couple jackets. Do what you got to do. You know why you're doing it. You're not doing it for any kind of worldly reciprocation. You're doing it because I'm accruing virtue. You can buy a whole bunch of meals and give it to a brother or sister, and they, man, I don't eat no damn chicken. I'm eating this. But you in your mind know I'm doing this to gain virtue. Whether they take it or not, you still gaining that virtue. So everything that we went through in the class tonight, utilizing the 7 pillars, knowing how to, if walking, thou perceivest not the lips of knowledge of him, or giving a soft answer, all of these things accrue this virtue. All of these things accrue this spiritual fruit that we must bring at the end of this 50 days. So neglect it not. You got the methods now. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Shalom.
Shalom.
He who hath ears to hear, listen carefully as we speak virtue, reaching the world through the efforts of the priests, repairers of the breach, restorers of the paths, rebuilding the tents of David. Our home is found at last at the tabernacle of congregation, where we baptize and anoint our nation, performing oblations upon the brazen altar, walking in the ways of the appointed Savior with poise, escaping the noise from Satan and his poisonous nature. Without fail he accuses the brethren, using his weapons of collusion, and then sin comes upon us. And we deserve it, to be honest. We were cursed, cause we honored and were worshipping the gods of this world and was living lawless. Adverse to the written law, without purpose and little knowledge, serving our wicked conscience. Thus, righteous judgment was handed down from the courts of the Most High. A sobering moment, but let's be holy and pure while we endure and ensure life comes forth. Let us hold tight, secure in our roles as we strive, adorned with our robes white and clean. It might seem like the loneliest road, but we stride in hope as the Most High reveals his ideals. And so we exercise patience as well as love, dwelling safe in the seventh covenant, graciously set the sustenance. Let us exemplify faith through hell and suffering, praying to quell the punishment, waiting on heaven's government to be established, as it was in the Garden of Eden, when Abba had breathed life into creation, and our forefather received the living word. No more are we called prisoners, we live and learn, and study to be approved as the sons of Yahweh, who were lovingly given rules to better build and preserve truth. The bricks surrounding the kingdom are the 7 pillars of virtue. This is a house of wisdom. Shalom.